Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, three masked people took an empty New York City subway train for a joyride over the weekend.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. You and I looked ridiculous in those masks, but reality looked like Errol Flynn.
It's dashing.
You look great.
Dashing.
Right?
Well, you know, I got a sort of giveaway here if the mask doesn't cover the bottom of the goatee and the shaved head.
Reality could have been a movie star hijacking the subway train.
That.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Justin Fields versus Russell Wilson again. A dramatic home run in the Dominican League, and Jeff Saturday joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the quandary of Jimmy Butler. The Heat have suspended Butler indefinitely after he reportedly walked out of practice after being told he would not be starting. Butler has now been suspended for 10 of the last 13 Heat games. The trade deadline is quickly approaching. Wilbon, is Butler making it hard for other teams to want him?
Tony, I don't think that's the problem. And I can see why people might perceive it that way. Missed a plane, left a practice, whatever, conduct detrimental. I mean, that.
And deliberate.
Deliberate. No question.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the issue. Just the economics of the NBA today are not what they've been. The structure and the second apron and the taxation, which is severe and limiting to the point where you can't just put together these deals like you used to. Because as you know, we covered the league all our adult lives. When people want out, they get out.
That's right.
Whether it's Jimmy Butler or Wilt, you get out.
That's right.
But Tony, it doesn't seem that way. I'm told that the Heat may very well wait until the summer when they can find a deal that better suits them. But even there's a problem there because Jimmy Butler is not going to opt out. I can't believe he's going to opt out of a $52 million final deal.
No.
So I think there are things working against the deal, maybe even precluding a deal. But I don't think Jimmy Butler's behavior. I think if you think you get him, if you're Golden State or the Phoenix Suns or some contender, if you get Jimmy Butler, you're pretty damn excited, and you ought to be based on his production over more than a decade. I don't think missing the team playing is going to deter that.
Well, we're going to be on different sides of the fence on this one.
Okay.
So I think that there are two issues to deal with here. One is that Jimmy Butler is still a very good player at age 35, I believe. He's shooting 54% from the field this year. And two is that his career is dotted with behavioral lapses like this. He did the same thing in Minnesota to get out of Minnesota that now he is doing in Miami. So if you are if you're running a team and you want the player Jimmy Butler, you need to make sure you want the person Jimmy Butler as well.
Agreed.
You need to make sure of that because what if he goes to your team and doesn't like it? You know, what if he doesn't like it? He's making $48.2 million this year.
Yeah.
Next year, as you say, he's due to make $52 million. So Jimmy Butler, if you want to suspend him for 20 or 30 games, doesn't really matter. Because if he plays 50 games out of 82, he still gets $31 million. I think at this point, he's sabotaging the team. And I think, and you use the same word, contender, a contender may want him because they believe he can win a championship right now. But then you also have to worry, what if he doesn't like it here?
Well, maybe, except there's not that long a runway left. I mean, I know Jimmy Butler reasonably well. And you know I love Jimmy Butler. Granted, I know these behavioral things come up. But when Jimmy Butler's on the basketball court, particularly in April, May, and June,
it's terrific.
He can make some magic happen.
It's terrific.
So if you're the Golden State Warriors, and you can't even keep your head above water, and you look at what you've got versus what you could get if you can get Jimmy Butler, you better do it. And by the way, I don't believe that Stephen Curry and Steve Kerr and Draymond Green couldn't figure out how to incorporate Jimmy Butler on a short-term situation a couple of years and make that work.
This is the only league where this happens. This is the only league where a player says...
soccer.
Oh, okay, I'm not familiar with soccer. Only North American professional league.
Yes.
Where this happens, where a player says, I'm tired of this place. Here's a list of 3 teams.
Right.
Work
Get
it
me
out.
there.
Work it out.
And it's always happened until now.
It doesn't happen anywhere else. And the other thing that I'm curious about, I'll ask you very briefly. I always thought Miami was a place where people were happy. I always thought they thought of Spoelstra and Riley as player people.
But there can
surprised
there can be an exception, right?
I guess. I'm just surprised. I'm a little surprised.
Man, this is going to go right down. It's going to go right down to the wire, probably. Let's move to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Once again, facing a choice at quarterback. Team owner and president Art Rooney said yesterday that his preference is to sign either Justin Fields or Russ, but probably not both. Tone, if you had to pick, who?
Yeah, I would take Justin Fields. Russell Wilson is 36 years old. I think we saw the best of what Russell Wilson has left in the first 7 games he started this year for the Steelers. He was 6-1 in those games. He had 12 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions, and the team averaged 28 points. And then the roof fell in, okay? And in the next 5 games, they lost 5 games consecutively, including a playoff game. They only averaged 14 points a game. Russell Wilson's statistics were okay, but I think that people thought he would be expendable there. The reason I would take Fields is because Fields is a really good runner. Now, he's an okay passer. He's not any better than that, but he had career marks this year in the games he started for Pittsburgh. He had his best passer rating. He had his best completion was best. And in Chicago, he started, I believe, 38 games and had 41 turnovers. And this year started 6 and only had 2 turnovers. So I think his trajectory is better.
I agree with you completely down the line there. And also, let's put some of this on the coaching staff. I mean, this is a great coaching staff by reputation and by accomplishment. And Mike Tomlin and his staff. So coach him up. Coach up Justin Fields. Get him to another level. There's nobody's ever said that Justin Fields wasn't coachable or was a diva to the point where he couldn't get better. And there's some upside there. And Justin Fields, what is he, 25, 26? So he's 10 years younger, essentially, than Russ. And I agree with you, Tony. We've seen the best of Russ.
That's right.
Okay, he should have had a second Super Bowl on his resume, which would set him apart from a lot of people. Okay, he's got the one. But it's probably time to go elsewhere and be a fill-in or be a backup or a spot starter, whatever. But Justin Fields, it would seem to me that Tomlin and his staff can get more out of Justin Fields over the next 2 or 3 seasons than Russ.
No, I agree with that. Now, Russell Wilson, it may be serendipitous for him that Pete Carroll took over the Raiders. They don't have a quarterback. Maybe he could go there. Maybe he'd go to Cleveland. They also don't have a quarterback at the moment. And then Pittsburgh can look around at Sam Darnold, and they can look around at Kirk Cousins, maybe Daniel Jones, maybe Aaron Rodgers. God only knows what's happening over there. So maybe people land where they land. I would say this, that both these guys, I was a little bit surprised that an owner said this and not a coach, that it didn't come from Tomlin, that it came from the owner. But both of these guys are free agents, so they can't be traded unless Pittsburgh makes a deal for Jimmy Butler, unless they make the deal, right?
No, that's a culture situation. That's not going. I can't see that happening at all.
We move now to Junior Camanero's home run in the top of the 9th last night in Game 7 of the Dominican League playoffs. Camanero is so jacked up by this home run that his bat flip goes 80 feet in the air, and he takes nearly a full minute to round the bases. He takes about 30 seconds just to get to first as he embraces all of his teammates. Wilbon, I have to sit here and fill until Camanero gets around the bases. But let's talk about his home run trot. Too much or what it's all about?
First of all, it's spectacular. The whole atmosphere is. I now want to go to next year's Dominican, whatever it's called.
He's still going. He's still going.
He took 57 seconds. And if I'm the pitcher, growing up in the culture I grew up in.
You're hitting the next guy.
I want to go full Bob Gibson. No, on him while he's running the bases. I would square him up and go 97 at him at his belly at the very least. But this atmosphere is so cool. Tony, speaking of culture, I don't know what's acceptable in Dominican baseball. I don't know that. But it is so cool to watch. And just the fan reaction of the fans and the announcer who goes to English to say, I can't believe what I just saw. Was so great.
The Jack Buck situation for that guy. So, look, 57 seconds is a long time. He threw the bat so high in the air, that might have taken 57 seconds to come down. But do you know the longest home run trot or voyage this year in Major League Baseball?
No.
Juan Soto. 37.7 seconds.
That's long.
Do you know where Juan Soto was last night? In the other dugout from Camanero.
Well,
do you know who was in Camanero's dugout? Who was his manager? Albert Pujols.
Okay.
Albert Pujols is his manager.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if we transpose ourselves. If we are at this game and we see this, are we as freaked out as we are sitting here in Washington, D.C.?
Let me point this out. Because it looks like a walk-off, and it smells like a walk. It's the top of the ninth. It's the top. They have to get 3 more outs.
Which they did.
If this is in the majors, you know what's going to happen? The pitcher's drilling the next guy.
I'm going.
Okay, and by the way,
Bob Gibson.
By the way, Camanero, if I have to wait a year like old Dodger fans wait till next year. If I have to wait, I'm going to hit him the first time.
I'm going to get him back.
I'm going to get him.
Have to.
But it seemed like very joyful. And again, as you say, maybe this is how it is in the Dominican playoffs. Let's take a break.
I want to go.
Coming up, if everyone knew the Chiefs blitz was coming, why couldn't the Bills handle it better? We're going to ask Jeff Saturday.
We're also going to ask him how teammates grapple with the drops by Kincaid and Andrews.
It's the top of the ninth.
So we need to get a road trip.
Of the game.
See that and play a round of golf.
In the
Teeth of the dog.
Oh, that's
then baseball.
Okay.
All right. I mean, that's a good Saturday, Sunday.
It's the end of the season, so he knows he's not coming up tomorrow. Let's dig back into the NFL with our great friend ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday, dressed like an adult today with a tie, I'm glad to say. The Eagles won big, Jeff, but they struggled at your position of center. Guard Landon Dickerson started for the injured Cam Jurgens, and then Jurgens, I think in the second half, had to replace an injured Dickinson. How should the Eagles handle this going forward?
Well, you're hoping the 2 weeks, lets them both kind of heal up. And Dickerson's one of the toughest human beings on the planet. So if there's any chance he'll get back out there, he'll be back out there. And you're hoping the tightness that was in Jurgens' back that he played through in the second half, he'll come back and be full strength in these 2 weeks. That's the greatest part about the little mini bye, I like to call it, for the Super Bowl, is you get these 2 weeks to at least address some of your bumps and bruises and nicks. And so hopefully those two guys will be back healthy come Super Bowl time.
Jeff, let's zero in on Saquon Barkley. I'm so glad we have you on. Somebody who did not give up on the entire notion of a running game over the last 10 years. Saquon had 3 of the Eagles' 7 rushing touchdowns. But bigger picture, I'm wondering, when people see this guy's performance and his ability to carry a team and impact the game, do you think that league executives and personnel people and even coaches will come to their senses now? And if they have a great runner, use him? Or are they so dedicated to passing the ball they won't pay attention?
I sure hope so. And listen, everybody's fallen in love with the passing attack. And I get it. It's pretty, it's fun, but it requires a whole lot more precision. And you think about what Saquon Barkley has allowed this Eagles offense to do. If Jalen Hurts needs to beat you with his arm, or A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Goddard, they can do it. But if you want to take pressure off a quarterback and the pressure off a defense, lean on a running game. We used to call it the quarterback's best friend, a defense's best friend. And all of a sudden, everybody falls in love with this passing attack. And we do these great, we dissect these plays. We break it down on all the TV. It makes great TV. The reality is low risk, high reward are effective running backs. And that's what Saquon Barkley has become this season. And hopefully other organizations will follow suit.
Amen.
I'm the guy who said he should be MVP.
I know. I just, the notion of having a great running back, he's not a museum piece. Right. He's actually playing the game now. I'll get off it because I can stay on this all day. But we do want to talk about something Booger McFarland told us, that Bills Chiefs would come down to a Steve Spagnuolo blitz on a critical play. And it sort of did. The Bills failed on 4th and 5. So many people knew that play was coming. Jeff, take us inside that and what happened.
Yeah, well, there's a few things that should always put you on alert, right? You're coming off the 2-minute warning, so you've had a timeout. Defenses love the blitz out of a timeout because they can get everybody kind of together. Everybody understands their roles. They're not kind of rushing to do it, right? 4th and 5. So put the pressure and put the onus on the offense. That's another key for a blitz. And then think about Spags, like his reputation. He's going to blitz you in big moments. That's his reputation. So the Bills, there's no way when they had that timeout, they weren't all over there having this discussion. What I'm hoping is they just missed the call. They slid the protection the wrong way because this is no joke. Mike, I'm sitting on my couch. My son is there. My oldest son is there, and my wife and his girlfriend, and we're having this conversation. I glance at the TV, and immediately I go, they're bringing heat from the right. And when the ball is snapped, I see the line sliding left, and I about had a heart attack. And next thing you know, you got 2 guys in Allen's lap, and he throws a miracle ball.
Wow.
That unfortunately Kincaid doesn't catch. But I don't know if there's many men in the world who could make that throw. But I can tell you this, the ones I blocked for, those dudes are getting hit by those 2. They were on him in a second. And so it was an amazing play. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But everybody in the building should have known that blitz was coming.
We will continue on that and get you out of here on this. Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews. These are Pro Bowl tight ends, right? They had critical drops in the last 2 weeks. Teammates will publicly support them, but privately, do you think they feel the same way?
They do. Here's the facts. We've all blown assignments in a game, right? We all have roles. We all have plays that don't get magnified to that level, right? Andrews has made some insane plays. He's picked up his quarterback at time. He's picked up other players. Kincaid the same way. And we all know we failed. And so the last thing we do in situations like that, we know he feels awful. He knows he should have made the catch the same way I know I shouldn't have thrown a whiff on a block that got Peyton sacked one time, right? Like, we all have our own failures and we own them. And so, no, we support each other. We get it. We don't try to minimize it. Like, there is no, hey, man, it was a tough catch. We don't say any of that. You should have caught it. We didn't. I should have made a block one time. I didn't. He should have made a run. We shouldn't have fumbled. We shouldn't have thrown interceptions. Everybody owns their failures, and that's what makes great teams. That's just the reality of the NFL.
So good to hear you.
It is.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Let's take one last break. Still to come. The TGL finally delivers big stars in a tight match. I watched it.
You will not let this TGL go. You won't let it go. The Rockets knocked off another top team last night. Is it time to start taking them seriously? Real serious.
Did you hear Jeff call that a mini bye going into the Super Bowl? Only guys who've been to the Super Bowl would call that a mini bye. They understand.
They understand what's going on that week.
Other people, they're done.
They don't get it.
They're done. They don't. Happy time, people. Happy 41st birthday, Andre Iguodala. Although he never had the cachet or the stardom of the other four-time champions on Golden State, Iguodala has all the rings that Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green have. Iguodala was the Finals MVP in 2015 when the Warriors beat the Cavaliers and LeBron James. Iguodala was drafted originally by the 76ers and started in the backcourt alongside Allen Iverson for a couple of seasons. He was then traded to Denver in 2012 and then to the Warriors. Iguodala was on the gold medal U.S. basketball team in the London Olympics in 2012. Wilbon, when we talk, you always say Iguodala should be a general manager in the league.
Yes.
But he's involved with the Players Association now.
I mean, that's fine. I'd like to see him with a shot at GM. By the way, the Warriors are going to retire his jersey, number 9. They're going to retire 4. Draymond, Klay, Steph, and Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
And then they have to have something hanging in the rafters.
Yeah.
Iguodala plays a lot of golf now. He's pretty good.
Is he?
Give us strokes, lots of strokes for Iguodala.
By
the way, he was an ace. He did so many things well for so many years. An ace.
Happy anniversary, Baltimore Ravens. On this day 24 years ago, Ray Lewis and the Baltimore defense stifled the New York Giants offense and won one of the most lopsided Super Bowls, 34-7. The Giants had 18 possessions in the game that resulted in 11 punts, 5 turnovers, including 4 interceptions of Kerry Collins' passes, and the final drive where the whistle blew the game dead mercifully. The Giants' only score was a 97-yard kickoff return, which the Ravens matched with an 84-yard kickoff return of their own. The Ravens were coached by Brian Billick and led by Lewis, who was the MVP of the game. Lewis won one more Super Bowl at the end of the 2012 season, and then he retired.
This is the Trent Dilfer Ravens team, right?
Yeah.
Trent was a quarterback, a journeyman quarterback, put together that great season. Maybe kind of like Mark Rippon in that way.
Yes.
Not Hall of Fame careers, but Hall of Fame moments.
I think Rippon's full season was even better.
Yeah.
Full season was. Happy trails to last night's TGL match for Rory's Boston Common golf team. We regular followers of this league finally got treated to a tight match. Tiger's Jupiter Links Golf Club team battled Rory's Boston Common golf squad in a contest that featured Tiger receiving the league's first shot clock violation. The match went to overtime, tied at 3 apiece. Overtime is best of 3, closest to the pin. It's a chip-off, a quick ending that Tiger likened to soccer penalty kicks. After the match, Tiger said, quote, "Everyone in the audience was engaged. Hopefully all the viewership were engaged. We as players loved it. This is what we had envisioned for TGL. I think we delivered."
I'm glad it moved off Tuesday to Monday, because Tuesday for some of us is FBI night. So I'm sorry. It's on Monday now. I'm going to try. You were so enthusiastic about this. I'm going to give it a shot.
I think it's a lark. I think it's a lark in the winter. You know, if the weather was better and the light was on till 8:30, nobody would be watching.
We're going to get to real golf shortly.
But if everybody in the audience was involved, then the socialite who was there was involved. And I watched it, and they made a couple of Kim made a lot of putts. but they're uncomfortable chipping to the green and putting on the green because the green is always moving around from hole to hole.
How do you hinder? You don't see the golf
weird.
course itself.
No,
Whatever it is,
no. They
is
make
a
up the holes.
major attraction
Yes,
to me.
yes,
And now you're in
of
this
course.
dome. You're in a TV studio.
All I can say is I watched it. I'm not saying it's great. I watched it. Let's go to the big finish
Let's
if
do
we
it.
could. The Rockets beat the Celtics in Boston. Is that significant?
Yes, I think it is. I mean, the Rockets seem to be a real threat, and the Celtics are still asleep. I think that's all that's wrong with them, nothing more than that. But they're like struggling the last 30 games. Connor McDavid scored a goal in his return from a 3-game suspension. You impressed with him?
Best player in the league. Lions hired John Morton as their offensive coordinator. The Cowboys are reportedly hiring your boy Matt Eberflus as defensive coordinator. What's the bigger deal?
Matt Eberflus, John Morton's worthy for that job, and so is Eberflus. I mean, I know it didn't work out as a head coach, but he's a heck of a defensive coach. So, time to be hired. Klay Thompson, get back to work. Klay Thompson, old man Klay, 7 threes and a win over your Wizard.
Yeah.
Is that significant?
No, the phrase is over the Wizards. They are 6-39. They've lost 14 in a row.
Okay.
Last one, Rick Pitino and St. John's at Georgetown tonight. You going to the game like Keller, or who you got?
Oh, I got Paul VI at Gonzaga High School hoops.
High school.
But if I could go and see John and Louis, God bless them both, rest in
Fantastic,
peace.
fantastic.
We would both go to see that. You
High
know,
school hoops. Makes me so happy. We're out of time. Try to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts.
I started as a high school sports writer.
Here's Tony and Mike in tonight's PTI bonus segment.
All right, Wilbon. What have we learned about the Rockets from their recent stretch?
That they're loaded with talent, young talent, in some cases spectacular talent. They are really well coached. They play well together. And when you look at Oklahoma City and Houston, as they develop these young players and play together and win, I'm just going to mention their roster. People don't know who's on Houston.
I don't.
They haven't seen Houston.
I don't.
Besides Şengün, you got a little bit last year. I thought he was the most improved player in the league last year. Amin Thompson goes for 33 and 9 last night, the game after a triple-double at Cleveland. Dylan Brooks, who was just a nuisance in Memphis, and last night went 10 for 15 from 3. You got Fred VanVleet, who wears a championship ring. You got Jalen Green, who's supposed to be their best player. He doesn't even have to be great every night for them to win. Tari Easton, nobody knows. Cam Whitmore. Jabari Smith's not even in the lineup. He's hurt with some kind of hand injury. They're loaded. They're anonymous. And I can't wait to get to the playoffs to see what they do.
So there is a trend now in sports to go to the bottom, get a lot of young players, and see how long it takes you to go to the top. This was started, I believe, by the Houston Astros. They did this for a while. Now it's being done, obviously, by Oklahoma City in the NBA and Houston in the NBA and maybe Detroit in the NBA.
Detroit, good example.
But here's what I want to say. It's easier to do this in small market cities. You can't do this in LA and New York.
No,
the demands from the fans.
Tonight.
So it's a different thing.
Yeah.
You have the time to develop these squads in smaller markets, and if it doesn't work, you go back to something else. I can't see the Lakers and the Knicks. I can't see it.
But Houston is the 4th largest city in America.
But it's a small sports market.
It's got all the teams. Here's the one thing, Tone, I think. I'm sure of this. When you do have the smaller markets, Oklahoma City, some other markets, Memphis, Sacramento.
Detroit is still a small market.
It is now.
Even with all the teams.
You have to do it that way because free agents are not
Cleveland
coming
is
to
that
you.
way.
Free agents go two
That's right.
places, South Florida and Southern California.
That's right.
And that's it. Maybe New York.
That's right.
So they got to do it this way. Because
Takes patience.
It does.
Not every city is going to have this kind of patience.
No.
And there's no real guarantee. Philadelphia
They tried
this in basketball, and they got to a ceiling, and they haven't gone through.
They tried it. They're still trying it. That's it. We're done. Back to you.